Right, a very impromptu video, since I don't usually do this sort of stuff. But coming out of, well, let's just get into it. The Dragon Age Veilguard situation. The game's failed massively, and now people are losing their jobs. Anyone who's ever watched Smugcast will know that I'm a big fan of the Dragon Age series, and I've seen the biggest amount of cope ever in regards to this game, and I believe it's perfectly fair and the right thing that Bioware is now going tits up, really, um, in regards to this absolute travesty of a game that they've made. They chose an ideology over actually making a fun game, an interesting game, a game that anybody who's a fan of the franchise actually wanted. I mean, to start with, to call Dragon Age a woke series is to completely misunderstand the actual series itself. I mean, anybody who ever says that Dragon Age Origins was woke usually just says, well, Zevran was a gay romance, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. Obviously, they're ignoring characters like Olga and Sten, even your own player character, who can easily come across as an incredibly psychopathic bigot. And anyone else who usually puts forward that there's some sort of woke foundation of the series usually just goes to Inquisition, which, lo and behold, was created at the start of the woke agenda in Bioware back in 2014. So Vilgard's collapse pretty much puts a nail in the final nail in the coffin for the whole Dragon Age is woke, because the one truly woke game has now failed to reach sales targets. They've got less sales than Dragon Age 2, which is classed as the worst game in the series up until Veilguard. They've lost last records about 500 million from one of the financial meetings they've had, and now they've literally sacked the entire writing staff. I know EA says it's a layoff, but layoffs is just a nice word for a sacking. So yeah, it's pretty bad for Bioware, and I think they've deserved it. They've deserved it. You can't have a game which spits in the face of established law, an established foundation of how the games are set up. I mean, they removed so many options, removed the amount of companions you could have in your party. They removed the ability to play as your companions in the party. They removed many abilities. They removed, armor options. It literally turned into an online multiplayer game that it was just in single player. I mean, there's no lock picking. There's no real explanation for why they. Well, the reason they got rid of everything was they pretty much had to restart, and they were running out of time. EA wanted something, and they just fumbled together whatever it was, and purely concentrated on their political ideology. Now, politics in games isn't necessarily bad. It's just the fact that when you make a game like that, you have to remember that what you don't want to create is a lecture, and that's what Veilguard was, a lecture. It didn't flow naturally. They removed vast swathes of the actual politics of Thedas and replaced it to the politics of what you'd see in a Starbucks cafe, and gamers don't want that. Gamers do not want to listen to 40, 50, 60 hours of dialogue or plot that wouldn't feel out of place at an avocado enthusiasts meeting in California. And it all, the way Bioware set the whole thing up is the minute that they hired Korean Bush, and whatever you say about obviously her views, she'd done nothing in regards to RPGs. A friend of mine has found her credits, and after doing some Sims 3 DLC, there's nothing. From 2013 to 2021, there is absolutely nothing on her CV at all. Well, on his CV, at which point in 2022 they transition and become game director of Veilguard. Clearly, Bioware just hired that person because that fits the agenda. And it's backfired. And I think the scrambling to try and distance Mass Effect 5, or whatever they're going to call it, from the disaster that's Veilguard, and it is a disaster. They've torched the franchise. It's a dead franchise now. There's nothing going to happen. It shows the fact that Bioware is so brainwashed by this ideology that they never thought that this would happen. They never thought that appealing to 0.1% of the gaming population could ever go badly, because they've deluded themselves into thinking that the weirdos online who shout and scream about representation were somehow the main body of gamers. They weren't. And it's just shown. They've had terrible sales. I mean, they don't even use sales. They just say 1.5 million engagements. Who knows what engagements, well, I know what the engagements will be. It's review copies, free copies given out. I think it was an NVIDIA did a thing where they, if you got a subscription, you got Dragon Age Veilguard for free. They also include anyone who returned for refunds, because that's still an engagement, even though you didn't really play the game. And people who just, I don't know, the list is varied when it comes to engagements, to the point where you could easily just say, well, that's not 100% sales. So there's 1.5 million engagements might not be 1.5 million sales, which is terrible considering the fact, like I said earlier, Dragon Age 2 sold 2 million copies in the same time frame and was classed as a failure back in 2011. So I think we've reached a point with Bioware, and the reason why I'm making this video, and it's rubbish, I mean, look at it, I'm just sat in my living room in my crappy top, recording on the phone. The reason I made it is because I've reached a point where I think it's about time people did actually call out Bioware and just fully have to just say, you brought this on yourself. You brought this on yourself. You chose to go down a path which was always going to end like this. I mean, they were already walking down that path and still had a chance to get off of it. And they went, no, this is where we're going. With the layoffs and everything, I think someone mentioned there's only 72 staff members now left in Bioware, and I'm pretty certain it was about 250 employees in late October. So that's a huge, massive layoffs. Just in a couple of months to lose that many people. I mean, and on top of the fact that they lost 150 at the start of 2024, they're going down. They're going down. There's nothing more to say. So the people who created Veilguard have got what they deserve. They've done a bad job. They've ruined the franchise for fans. They pandered to a group of people who are such a minute amount of people that it was never going to make a profit, even if it was good. There was just no way it was going to happen. They wrote a story which destroyed Fadus, meaning that there's no stories you can tell anymore. Everything's all gone. All the characters are gone. It was a terrible attempt at a soft reboot to push the franchise in a direction that nobody wanted to go. And now, they're out of job, and people will probably say, "Well, you can't be angry. You can't be happy that people lose their jobs." If I do a bad job in my work, I lose my job. Just be good. But I'm trying to think of words. I'm trying to just do this video off the cuff when I really should have wrote something down. But Bioware's got what they deserve. And I think a lot of fans and a lot of people will agree that you cannot tear down a game's foundational gameplay, foundational lore, foundational just the main foundations of the series, tear it all down, pour in just a political ideology that you wish to push onto the audience. You don't want the audience to live through it with you or experience it with you. No, you want them to sit down and be in like a lecture room with a university lecturer telling you for 2 hours or 80 hours in the case of video games, telling you, you must think this, you must do this. And you're not allowing the gamer to make their own decisions about whether they agree or don't agree. And you can't expect that and then give the highest job to somebody whose CV at the peak was Sims 3 DLC and say, yes, do this, you will succeed. The only reason we're hiring you is because you are a particular minority that suits our goal. It's not going to work. It is not going to work. It has not worked. And you look back at how people say, this is Bioware return to form. Well, return to form for Bioware has resulted in an entire writing staff being sacked, people out of work, and the company on the brink of collapse. I don't see Bioware lasting the year. There's people who say it won't even last a month. I say year is the best outcome. I don't say 6 months down the line, I can see people saying Mass Effect 5 has been cancelled and Bioware has been shut down because EA no longer sees it as, sees it as a revenue source, and they're thinking, well, let's cut our losses. So that's where I see it happening with Bioware. They're going to be closed by the end of the year. Dragon Age IP is dead under Bioware unless somebody gets it, at which point I think it's actually very simple to retcon Veilguard out of existence with how little it actually connects to the rest of the series beyond the writers destroying things. You can easily retcon it out of the series, which is the ironic thing. Bioware wanted Veilguard to literally retcon the rest of the series out and then start fresh. Whereas if someone buys the IP, they can easily keep the first 3 games, retcon Veilguard, and carry on. And well, I think I've just babbled on now, and I'm just getting to the point of, well, Bioware deliberately destroyed Dragon Age, thinking that somehow this new slop that they've created would be popular enough to kickstart something new. In reality, it's killed them, and so it's like a self-inflicted gun wound. But that's my view. I'm sorry for a bit of a ramble. I'm sorry for this crappy video. But if you disagree with what I say on here, just put it in the comments. I'm sure I'll see it. I'll decide whether I want to reply. Most likely I won't, because I'm awkward. And I'm not really into bothering with internet drama. But put your opinions down in the comments, because it's one of the best ways you can talk about what you want and get your views across. And you never know, you might say something interesting and profound. But yeah, my views to finish up and wrap off the video is Bioware's dead, Dragon Age is dead, and the people who supported it, seeing that an avenue for their political propaganda is gone, are going to be very upset. and just watch out for future games, because they will try and leech onto another franchise because they've just